welcome back. It's Reclaiming America, Part 2.
You do this to me every time we're coming back from breaks, Bill. You get me laughing, then I can't talk.
Which is good for the audience.
Oh, dear God.
Okay, anyway,
He's...
never let facts interfere with what you're saying.
I got to bring you on TV some point because we could have a ball
Oh,
with you.
we could probably do a great show. Like this one. Just we had more people listening
we
to
would
it.
Really
Anyway, I want to go into something, I classify as world-class stupidity.
We just covered that.
Yeah, but this is funny type stupidity.
Okay, let's go there.
Okay. If you're in California in 2017.
Well, there it is right there.
Okay, this woman was driving her car and passed a demonstration. Now, I have no idea whether she was pro or anti-demonstration, but she proceeded to lay on that horn a whole bunch of times against the demonstration or for it. I don't know, okay? She was pulled over by because sometimes you go by and they say honk if you like it.
Yeah.
So it could go either way. It doesn't matter. But so the police officer pulled her over, state trooper, whoever, and they gave her a ticket for excessive honking. She then, and I don't know what the ticket was worth, but I guarantee you it wasn't worth what she spent so far. She then went to court fighting this as that the car horn was an extension of her special rights of First Amendment. Okay? Right. And she went on and on. The reason I bring this up is she just this week got a ruling from the Federal Court of Appeals telling her that her horn was not an extension of her personal rights to free speech. And basically their rationale was a horn is used to signal danger, a whole bunch of other things, and you can't tie them together. Though free speech, I guess you could yell danger, but whatever.
You can legally yell fire in a theater,
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Oh, if there is a fire.
No.
No, you
can legally do it.
That I did not say that, audience.
That's a misnomer. Go on.
Okay, but anyway, so she has already indicated. First, she's indicated two things. First of all, since she got that ticket, it's affected her life in her driving because she's afraid to drive that much. Can't hit the horn. She's afraid she's going to get another ticket. So her whole life is being ruined. Meanwhile, the indications are she may take this or try to go to the U.S. Supreme Court with it.
She's gone this far. You know she's going this far.
Well, they have to accept it.
Well, whether they'll do anything with it is another story.
But anyway, this is what I call world-class stupidity. With everything going on in California, you're arguing on a civil ticket for honking your horn, and you spent 6 years worth of money and time fighting something that is stupid.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Please, do. Just honk your horn on this one.
It's better for ratings if we fight, Bill. I love that she did this.
Why?
See that face alone?
It was worth
2 rating
there's
points.
3 points right there.
So, all right. I don't really, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. Think of it this way. If it was a sign instead of a horn. Let's say the protest was about, I don't know.
Pay abortion. Let's start there because they're always out there.
We should talk about that because there's a topic that came up in the news in Florida today.
Yes, I know, 6 weeks.
We'll get there. Let's use that. All right. So, anti-abortion demonstrations out there.
Okay. And she drives by.
Pro with a sign. Would you have a problem with that?
No.
All right. Would you have a problem if she had a bullhorn and was yelling?
Possibly.
Possibly. But in general,
bullhorns
allowed under free speech.
Bullhorns are generally needed by the leadership of a group to try to control a group. So that's
generally speaking.
At some level, you could possibly okay it.
I could make that argument with a horn.
No. No, and even the boss said no.
Devil's advocate here.
Oh, go ahead.
I agree with you, but that doesn't.
I will defend to the death your right to be wrong. Go for it.
Sit here and agree on everything. It's not going to be fun to watch.
Okay, well then go for it.
I'm trying to pull shit out of my ass to make this work. Work with me here.
Oh, there's just so many openings here.
I'm just trying to, and we talked about this off air beforehand. So originally I'm from Albany, New York, capital of New York. The legislative building is right smack in the middle of downtown. And there's 4 streets that go around. It's a perfect square almost.
That's because it's on a square.
Well, it's a bunch of blockheads and running it. But anyway, one of the forms of protest that's been used for decades is groups will drive that, I'll call it a square, honking their horn. It's been done off and on for years. I mean, I used to work in that area, you'd hear them. And their goal was to make enough noise to make the legislature have to stop, they were in session or whatever. Nobody had a problem with that. But this one woman, they do. I don't disagree with you, but I'm just saying, where's the line you're going to draw on that?
Well, there are unknown pieces to that. Where was the demonstration? Was it near a hospital? Was it near a school? There are lots of
That's
possibilities.
but we don't know that.
We don't know that one
I'm
way or the
talking
other.
generality here.
But if a police officer determined that that was excessive noise, then she has a right to go to court to argue the issue.
She should accept the L now. She should take the loss and walk away. But again, I'm trying to prove our, if we sit here and go, yeah, we agree on everything, it's not fun, Bill. Work with me.
I am working with you. I'm just proving your right to be wrong.
I could see a point to that.
Well, now we have one point we disagree on completely.
Because
So
at
just-
some point, where do you draw the line?
sometimes the line needs to be drawn, and if you don't put any lines down, everything gets
So-
blurred together, and you got a real issue.
Why is honking illegal but burning buildings to the ground and beating people to death not
They are illegal. It's just a matter of being enforced. So there's a difference.
in California?
It's still a matter of being enforced.
If it's not prosecuted, it's not.
It's still on the books.
Is it?
The law is there. Whether they choose to enforce it or not is a different story. But just like the law of honking a horn, if you had a bicycle horn going by, it'd be a different discussion. Yeah, you got me going. You hit that button.
But Bill, why would it be okay to take a 2x4 to someone's head and not prosecute for him? But why is the prosecutor prosecuting on a horn?
No, we're not going there because we've already determined that the law exists. Enforcement is a different situation. What color was George Washington's white horse? You want to go there?
I'm having fun right now.
I know, obviously.
I'm messing with you. But
And you've hit every button.
the reality, though, is step back and see what's going on here, right? They're prosecuting her for honking her horn. They're not prosecuting people, like I said, for all
Time
that
out.
stuff.
They're not prosecuting her. She chose not to answer a summons. There's a difference.
Summons
They're
is
not
still a
still pushing the issue. She's the one pushing the issue. So there's a
Yes,
difference.
But they could go, we'll dismiss it and walk away.
And they would be wrong. Just like they would be wrong for not enforcing laws of people being assaulted, whatever else. Those are wrong.
You see where they're trying to pass a law in Maryland to make it a non-chargeable offense to shoot someone if you're under the age of 25?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah.
Is the target the under age of the age of 25 or is the shooter?
The
Because you
shooter.
could go either way with
If
that.
you're under the age of 25, you cannot be prosecuted for murder.
Be prosecuted, but
No,
not for murder.
That's what no, you cannot be prosecuted, period.
For murder. Now, there's a
Murder.
difference.
Yeah.
You can be prosecuted
They
for
might get him for
homicide or something, manslaughter, pick something else.
Just said murder. I don't know. It's never. No, it's not going to pass.
Well, if
I just like getting you going.
Yeah,
I'm
you
having a little too much fun right now. So honking's bad. Burning
Yes.
buildings is okay.
evidently,
My point though is like I'm now slamming California here. So let me
Really?
turn the corner here. What level of stupidity do you have to be to sit in a prosecutor's office? Because they could have stopped her suit any time by going case dismissed. We're not prosecuting. No illegal grounds then. Right? The only way that she can fight the ticket is if the ticket's considered valid. Well, all the prosecutors got to go is yeah, we'll waive it. Dismissed, done. Judge, dismissed, done. They had to have held her to it.
well, they probably found her in contempt of court for either not showing
Yeah, they're
up
pissed
or
at her, so
declaring,
they're gonna make-
demanding a jury trial and not accepting it.
But
we
in
don't
the
know that.
meantime, there's literally murderers not being prosecuted. I mean, would you want to live in California right now?
A lot of people have already answered that question for
like-
you.
Kind of segue over to one of the things I wanted to bring up was San Francisco again. They are like, it is unbelievable what is going on there.
With a slight variation of Tony Bennett's song, "I Left My Life in San Francisco," because
Well,
that's about what you do when you
Did
go
see
there.
the mayor's press conference?
No, I have
Oh,
not.
I did watch that. Oh, go check it out.
What has he said?
Delusional wouldn't even begin to cover her mindset. So she's mad because there was a bunch of videos released in the last few weeks of crimes being happening. So there was the guy that got stabbed that owned an internet company.
Right.
There was a house that got broken into. There's half dozen ballpark videos out there showing these crimes being committed.
And one of the reasons, just as a side note, is because the people who are doing it are stupid enough to record it
Well, that's
and show it to people, which is another part of brains. We're not dynamite that couldn't
are
blow
they
their nose.
stupid or they feel like, well, I know I'm not going to get prosecuted, so who cares? I might as well get
Or both.
publicity off of it.
You know, first of all, you've got a bunch of people that they're out there thinking that everything I do needs to be recorded for
Well, that's
posterity.
anybody under the age of 25 to use that number, that's what they do now. They record themselves going to the bathroom. I mean, I'm not joking.
Now, unfortunately, you're not.
But you know, she.
But I don't give a crap.
Why do we take a crap and give a crap at the same time?
Oh,
Food
God.
for thought. So anyway, she's doing this press conference. She's mad about these videos because she feels it's portraying it's propaganda portraying San Francisco in a negative light, and these videos should not be allowed to be shown, which would be a form of censorship.
You mean a freedom of speech operation?
We can't allow that, you know. And San Francisco's perfectly safe. And
As long as you stay in your room with the
you
doors
know,
locked
it's
and you're
like,
armed.
You had to watch this, and
I have to go find this
level
later.
Of delusion is the only term I can come up with. And I get she's the mayor and she's got a positive spin and all that. I'll give her that. This is beyond that.
Yeah, but you know, if you're following that same, and I'm going to bounce back to Chicago and then back to where you are, because you all remember when we got rid of Lori Lightfoot.
We made it worse.
Yes. So because crime was a problem and they wanted to deal with all that good stuff. So what did they do? They took someone further left than her, and they put this person in charge. So they get what they deserve. They deserve what they get because they did it to themselves. Now, let's go back to where you want to
I'll
go.
stay with that even. I mean, it's just, again, what level of delusion do you have to be living under? That's why I say, you know, we did a show a month or so ago talking about national divorce. This is, again, not to bring up that whole topic again, but this is, again, why we need one. Because you cannot reason with someone like that. You cannot have a conversation with someone who sits there and goes, there's no crime problem.
No, you can't.
You can't.
And people that's
the
why they
people
get
that vote for it.
frustrated. Yeah, but they vote for it because they don't know better. They watch the channels that they watch,
But
and
yeah.
according to them, everything is beautiful.
Right. But then they want to determine what we can do here in North Carolina. Well, we need gun control laws. How are they working in Chicago?
Which has the strictest ones in the country, maybe the exception of New York, but
Actually, I think Chicago's tougher.
it might be. They're 1 and 2. I don't remember which one's
one
which.
and a half dozen. San Francisco's right there with it too. They feel they should have the right to determine the rest of the country, and you cannot survive that way.
But that's a traditional leftist operation. If a conservative doesn't like what you're doing, just do it and don't bother me. Keep it out of my life.
Keep it on your,
If
Kinda like
a
we are with
leftist,
the
if a leftist is doing it, then everybody has to do it too.
yes, they want to control it.
They want to make sure everybody's doing what they're doing.
And, you know, you look at, it's a mental illness. I'm going to say it. It has to be at this point. There's no way you can, I mean, I get putting spin on things. I will give them that, you know. What's her name there? The black lesbian that's Biden's press secretary. I mean, her job is to spin things.
And I feel very bad for that lady because
I don't.
she needs a massive, one of those machines that you used to ride in when we all circled around to spin the crap going on in the White House.
Peppermint Patty, when she was there, putting her spin on, I will at least give her this. She was really good at it. She's a very smart woman.
And now she's got her own show, by the way.
Funny how that works, right? Well, so does Kaylee on Trump's press secretary.
Yeah, that's true.
Psaki, that's her name. I was trying to remember her
Jen.
name. Jen. And I have to give her credit. She had a job to do. She did it well. She's full of shit, and she was lying through her teeth all the time.
But at least it was a credible.
But it was professional.
Yeah, it's a better word. I like that one better.
Now, because we have to have a diversity hire,
Saint Pierre is her name.
Yeah, Corinne
Jean-Pierre.
right.
Jean-Pierre.
The, she's got a job to do. Her job is to spin things positively for the president. She's so bad at that.
And what amazes me when you watch the press conferences, she continually calls on Peter Ducey, and you know he's sitting there with a baseball bat about 10 feet long, and he's going to beat you up so badly,
he's like
and
a-
you're going to go.
He's like a dog looking at a steak. ready
Yeah,
to
there you go.
pounce.
Nice,
But what's
nice
funny,
analogy.
though, is if you watch it, it's not just him anymore.
No,
The rest of the press corps is looking at her like, "Are you kidding me? Did you just say that?" But yet, there's a whole group of people that lap up everything she says as the gospel truth.
and that that because it goes out in the Democratic talking points, which are said the exact same words on every station and every commentator.
I got to send you one. Remind me, producer. I have to send you a video. So somebody took, wasn't Sinclair Broadcasting. It was one of the broadcasting companies. So broadcasting companies own dozens sometimes
Stations,
of TV
right.
stations. This person went out and found like 20 TV stations. The wording was verbatim on every single one of them. And the point being that this isn't news. This is propaganda being sent out from on high.
Well,
it was
you
brilliant.
got a number of commentators on TV will do a whole montage of that, and
Oh, yeah.
they'll cut the a certain thing happened, and they're all those same 4 or 5 words are appearing time after time after time.
Yep.
So no one's writing the news; they're getting it for you. They're being sent to you, and this is what
Right.
you're going to say.
Now, I'm familiar with local news. Way back, I was involved in it. What people don't know is the anchors generally write their own scripts. So
They
if
used
you're-
to
if
anyway.
you're- Well, they still do. So, but they're also more and more being told what their script's going to be, right? Which speaks to there's no independence in journalism anymore.
Yep.
It's all driven from on high, and on high is the DNC. Okay. And it's just amazing to see. Now, like our local newscasts, I watch them in the morning, and the two main anchors seem very nice. I'm sure they're wonderful people, but they ain't hiding their political affiliation anymore.
But they like to keep their job.
That's the point, right? It's so again, they have no credibility. They think they do. Out there, we're the most trusted news source. Are you kidding me?
Sad part is they really believe that.
They do
And the
believe
second
that.
part is compared to the others, they may be.
Yeah, I'll give
If you got a 10% trust rate and the others are 7 or 5 and 2, you're the most trusted one on the block.
Right. But you see that, and then you see what's happening in San Francisco. So,
Frisco,
however many homicides.
there was an article sent to us by our superior producer who's going to show up in just about 2,000 more
Well,
likes.
I'm stepping out of view. All right, going on.
And talked about demographics for the next 5 years.
Yes.
And what's interesting, if you look and follow the information in it, you are definitely seeing that the blue states, where all the people currently are emptying out at such a rate that if they don't if they don't find themselves very quickly more illegal aliens, there'll be nobody there.
And that's the reason they're shipping them there now instead of to the red states. So
But,
originally the plan was to send them to the red
Like for example, they estimate in New York State, within the next 5 years, 27% of the people have already indicated, for whatever reason, pensions, whatever they need to qualify for their jobs, are going to finish within 5 years, and they're getting out of Dodge. They're packing and heading south.
And that mirrors like a poll I saw, because I still keep up with New York politics. One of the stations up there did a poll that found that 70% of people are happy living in New York, and 30% are not. But they didn't mention the 30% that were not. You think about that kind of a hit to a state. So how many congressional seats does New York have? 30, whatever?
I think they're 40 something.
At one point they did. I think it's below 40 now. But whatever. Let's say
Whatever.
for the sake of argument, right? So it was 800,000 per seat, roughly.
Round numbers.
So if you're going to lose 30% of your population, last I knew, was around 12 million. So 3 times 12 is 3.6 million people.
Divide by
Divided
800,000.
by 800,000.
And there's a whole bunch of seats going away. 4 seats at least.
And where are they going to? Florida, Texas, North Carolina.
In Tennessee.
Tennessee's gathering steam, so to speak. So, they were trying to spin it as, wow, 70% of people love it here. Go ahead, live there.
The other question I would ask is where the poll was taken.
Albany.
Really?
The hotbed of, that's another point. Yeah, look at the face, yeah.
Well, Albany,
Albany area.
Albany area, the greater majority that people live there work for government. It's like
by a wide margin, yeah.
and that's like almost you go to why we lost Virginia. The whole northern part of Virginia is basically Washington employees, and that's what's flipping Virginia, because there's so many working there and they can't afford they can't afford everything change.
So Albany itself, city of Albany, has had a Democratic mayor for 100 years. 90 odd percent registered Democrat. So think about that and then go, wait, 30% of them don't like it?
Well, that's the 30% that don't work in government.
No, the government workers are the ones that move the fastest, believe it or not. Because as soon as they retire,
The pensions come through, yeah.
they don't want to pay taxes.
Well, no, but interesting
They
fact.
become Republicans at that point.
Yeah, but interesting fact. If you stay in New York and you have a state pension or something hooked to that,
They come after it.
it's tax free.
Yeah.
It's tax free.
Oh,
Listen
well,
to
it depends what tier you're on.
me. Okay. But
Not the newer tiers. I know tier 1, it's probably where you were at. Maybe even tier 2. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure where the cutoff
But
is.
I know for a fact that newer tiers are taxable.
See, moving down here, I had an option to pay on my pension, which was something I was looking forward to. Yeah, and then I had Mr. Biden say that it'd be lax to tax my Social Security benefits, which I want to thank him for, by the way.
Funny how that is, right?
Yeah.
We can give.
Fortunately,
$100 a
in
week to-
North Carolina, they are not taxing military pension
Well, why the hell not?
because they're good, honest places. And because they have too many military posts that they can afford to close
Get 'em
down.
going again. Why aren't you paying your fair share? Bill?
Actually, they went over the bill because that expired. And then they passed a law then because Bailey was the problem with Bailey was it was people that were in the military prior to 84 or 86, one of the two. And as further we get down the line, there are less and less of those people retiring now. 30 years from now, you're back in the 90s, you're not in the 80s.
Right. Why aren't you paying your fair share?
I am, trust me. And then some.
I'm getting him going again. I can see the look on his eyes. And by the way, no, I don't think they should be taxed. I think military pensions should be free across the board everywhere. Period. End of discussion.
And I
And I
absolutely.
also think you should get a break on your property taxes. Just going to say that.
Well, there are some places that are actually, when you hit retirement age, they throw it at you. They cut your school taxes,
Right,
basically.
right.
Which and that has not happened down here yet.
But talking about the migration, I mean, like we said, Florida, booming. Texas, booming. North Carolina, booming. Tennessee's another one.
It's growing.
It's people that are right-leaning
Coming out of
down here. And-
California, New York,
Right.
Illinois,
And you're seeing the people that are
and even Ohio.
Ohio, Pennsylvania is another one coming here. But the people that are here that don't like, because North Carolina was purple elections ago.
If you go back to 2010, it was
In that
blue.
area, right, in that area. Now it's becoming redder and redder and redder. That'd be a fully red state. I mean, we have the supermajority now.
You're always gonna have the pockets of blue, which are the big
Big
cities.
cities, Charlotte.
But as the suburbs grow and the rural areas grow, and they tend to keep flowing 2-to-1 to the right side of the political spectrum
The right side.
of the. You notice I said that so.
Unintended, right?
Yeah. Well, the correct side also.
Well, my point was going to be, you're going to see those people that live in, say, Mecklenburg County, they're going to leave. They're going to go back to California, New York, because
Well, that would work out well because California needs people to drive the U-Hauls back anyway, and so they
Well,
could
it would
take.
work.
That would help.
but where I'm going with it, it just fractures the country even more. We are going to divide into 2, 3, 4 areas, blue, red, and they're going to be solid because the migration's happening. That's what's causing it. It's going to happen probably in my lifetime, I think.
wasn't dying tomorrow, so I could see it, but
Good or bad, we've talked about it before, but talking about the population moving, people are voting with their feet.
they are.
And the problem is going to be, I'll use North Carolina as an example. We don't have the infrastructure built to accept all these people. We're working on it. Florida's in the same boat. Texas is so big, I don't think it matters, but
They don't know they don't have the infrastructure down there yet. Just leave them
Yeah,
alone. They're working on it. They have enough cows to
you
cover
could drive
everybody.
for
They're good.
5 hours in Texas and not see anything but tumbleweeds.
And be halfway through the state, maybe.
And not even halfway through the state. But then you look at the obverse of that, which is, California's got all these programs and no money to run them. That's why they want to tax people that leave California for up to 10 years afterward.
Well, they also want to give you $5 million in reparations.
Yeah,
they
good
can't
luck
afford
with
that.
Well, we're going back to San Francisco again. These states are going to fail. New York is
Gonna
done. I mean,
Gunna's be like almost pregnant. They're failing.
well, they have failed, but you pull 30% of the population out. And oh, by the way, that 30%, they're the ones with the jobs. They're the ones not living off the government teat.
Yep. And when they all start looking at each other going, well, I don't have to work because you're going to support me.
Yeah.
And you point at each other, there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina's got an influx of people. They're behind the 8 ball right now, but they're going to have income coming in, and they will address it.
But there are some places in North Carolina that are adequately addressing it. You see,
Already.
the problem that North Carolina faces, and I feel bad for certain groups that are already here, because we're outpricing their ability to stay in these certain areas.
Oh, well, yeah, we can have a whole conversation on that.
We were talking the other day about affordable housing in North Carolina, and especially Brunswick. And the reality is, as one of our leaders said, if you have oceanfront property, or you're near the ocean, or you're in the city near the, there's nothing that's affordable you can buy there to build something on. That's a reality.
Yeah.
If you're going to do affordable housing, maybe 10 or 15 miles away, it'll work. And the other misconception down here, and we talked about this too, is that in the north, most of the workers lived where they worked. I was 45 minutes a highway to get to where I work because I couldn't afford to live where I worked. And there's no difference for most of it. It's just a matter of degree.
Well, that's why what upstate New York is, the real estate market's booming. Same thing's happening there because people are working in New York City, but taking the train down from Albany because they can't afford to live in New York City anymore.
But unfortunately, the people leaving New York City are also converting where they move because they have not yet learned what the problem is. For example, Westchester County, if you go,
mean them?
them, Westchester County has been traditionally a red county
Fairly red, yeah.
for, it is now 100% blue.
Yeah.
It's gone over the edge, and mainly because people coming out of the city who don't want to live in the city with all its issues are buying there, but they haven't left their policies behind.
Right. And that's what's happening in upstate too, right? Because, I mean, a 1-bedroom closet, not even a 1-bedroom, a studio closet in New York City is $3-4 grand now.
Yeah, I know. So,
they come to Florida or North Carolina or any of the places they're moving to, they don't bat an eye at paying $1,000 or $2,500 rent for a 2-bedroom apartment.
And I'm going to,
locals can't cover that.
But I'm going to give you a solution to that. Look at this.
Common sense one.
A common sense solution. When I was in Chowan County as the principal there, little northeast North Carolina, little town. Whole county was 14,000 people, and that was a farming industry area. So they were having trouble getting teachers to come there. First, we had to find them, and secondly, they couldn't afford the housing because it was just a very expensive place to live. So the school district turned around and said, you know what we need to do? We need to build housing for our teachers. And they put in, I guess, apartments you might want to call them, but units, even a version.
Soviet block houses.
Nor were they the military houses of the World War II either.
Oh, there you go.
But they put in some very nice little housing apartments for those teachers to come in because most of them were brand new and there were very, very few married. But they needed a place to live where they could afford and work in the school district. So that is a long-term solution for people to do it.
It is. The problem that I'm seeing with it is when they start building them, the people that are trying to move here are sopping them right up.
Yeah, but that's why the district order
That's
built
why
it.
they have to have that.
The district order, and you had to be a teacher in the district
You have
to
put
qualify.
requirements in because.
And what I'm talking about teachers, it applies to firemen, it applies to policemen.
First responders.
first responders, anybody that's involved in government. If you look around here in Brunswick, for example, the salaries they pay are not going to let you live in this county anymore. They could a few
Really?
years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it is to the
It's
point where
gone up that much, the cost of living.
well, again, not only the cost of living, it's the cost of housing. Right now, down the road from where I am, they put in affordable units. A one-bedroom apartment starts at $1,200 or $1,300.
That's considered affordable now.
That's affordable housing.
Yeah.
And the more you want, obviously, the more it
Keep
chews
in
up.
mind, the general rule of thumb to rent is it's a third of your income.
Right.
So that means you got to be making $5-6 grand. Let's say 5. That's a lot of money.
And if you're a teacher or a teacher starts an average salary in this state is about 50, close to 50. It's close to 50, especially with this raise they're going to get.
You've got to be making at least 60 to get into the affordable housing. That's the problem that's happening. And I got to give the red states credit. They're trying. They're doing everything they can. They're behind the 8 ball right now, but it's not from lack of effort.
No, again, I have seen states like Brunswick. They're putting in the infrastructure as far as water, sewer. They're building that for the next 10 years. It's already going in.
It's just going to take some time.
Right. The problem you're going to see in many counties is going to be school and education. Because I know, you look at Brunswick, and the first thing you say about Brunswick is 1/3 of the people that live here are retirement age or better, but 2/3 aren't. And they're bringing kids with them, and our school district is starting to bulge. They need new buildings.
Well, I was talking with somebody down in Florida that's in the exact same scenario. There's not enough schools, and they really, where she is, they don't have a lot of ability to build more schools. There's no place to put them. Because where there is space, that's where they're putting the housing. There's only so much space in her area. Much like where I am, which is in New Hanover County, North Carolina. It's a pizza slice, I call it. Right? There's a river on one side, an ocean on the other. South of it's ocean. There's 300 acres left to build on. Where are you gonna put school? It's a tough problem. Now, will they come up with a solution? Absolutely, they will. But it's not gonna fix itself tomorrow. It's gonna take a decade.
Time and money.
A decade and money. At least the money though is coming in. Right? They're getting more revenue. Whether they're spending it wisely.
Yeah, but again, one of the issues that most people don't understand in North Carolina is how salaries are paid.
For the state.
First of all teaching salaries are paid by the state to a point. They have a formula that says, okay, you have X number of students, that will give you Y number of teachers. If you want more than that, it's on the local. You have to hire them out of your budget. Additional counselors, they'll give you a certain percentage for all that. Right. However, what really hurts the hiring is that all counties and all districts, actually a better term, because there are 116 districts and only 100 counties, they give what we call a supplement to teachers. And twice a year, they get a percentage of their salary. As just a one check coming in twice a year. And, once in January, once in June. And so they get their money. Problem is that supplement can be anywhere from 0.5% to 7.5%, depending on the district you're in. So they're not all equal. And especially the battle has been in North Carolina. They're not turning out enough minority educators to fill the needs as they see it in buildings. So, but you're a minority educator coming out, and you can go, salary's the same in both places, but your supplement is 10 times that amount by going here versus there. Where are you going?
And that creates, what do they call them? Education deserts, where they can't get teachers.
Or they can't get, you got people saying, we need to have some sort of reflection of your population in your schools. And they can't do it, and it's not their fault.
It's a tough scenario, but and then you got to look at the other side of it. Is what is states like New York going to do? Because you take that many people out, their tax base is gone. They're going to go bankrupt. Who's going to bail them out?
They're already bankrupt.
Who's going to bail them out?
Us.
That's my point, right? And there's only so much we can do. I personally, if California slid into the ocean, we'd be better off.
Oh, you're talking about my San Andreas Fault action again. We could do that. I mean, just create oceanfront in Arizona.
And Seattle with it.
You're getting a look over there. You're in trouble again.
Can I get my kid out of there first?
So better call her up, tell her get out, because you know.
We'll give you some advance notice before we knock it into the water.
But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that migration because it has financial effects both ways, right? The influx is a huge burden to the states that are moving to. They'll address it, um, but it'll take time.
But the loss is an even bigger burden to the places they're going from,
And the problem is the loss is going to end up falling back on the states that are growing because
if they allow it.
that's the question.
If they allow it, I don't see people like DeSantis, Texas, with Abbott and other places like that turning around saying, "Oh yeah, I'll send $2 billion to California." Right, put
Well,
money on that one.
They'll do it through the federal government. Taxes keep going up.
But ain't happening. They will not.
Not
You
right
want
now, well,
remember? There's only one state in the union that has the right to leave.
Tejas.
Tejas, yes.
Tejas. Yeah, they need to
In
start
their
voting.
constitution, it is built. They can vote
It'll
themselves
be,
out.
You know, it's a tough scenario for everybody because we're seeing the fracturing of the company or the country, and you're going to see how is this going to all shake out. And from a perspective, you know, the old argument was, well, New York State is carried by New York City. And if you were to cut New York City off from upstate New York, which us upstaters have been lobbying for 100 years,
Yeah.
because we despise anything from Westchester down,
Right.
7 square miles basically runs the state. And their argument was always, well, we provide all the money. Well, Wall Street's no longer on Wall Street.
No, and they're quickly heading
And they
hell.
are really bailing out. Mr. Wonderful, Kevin, what's his name? Or he was on Shark Tank. Was it? McCreary, whatever his name was. Yeah. He is all over the media now saying, do not open a business in New York, California, Massachusetts. He's on Massachusetts for some reason. It probably pissed him off.
And I would assume Maryland, because the Soviet
I
states
didn't
of
hear him say
Maryland.
Maryland, but I'm sure it's one of them. But he's saying, I'm not going to invest my money. He's about to open a petroleum plant. It's not going to be in New York, California.
Well, wasn't it Walmart that just announced 4 closings of stores? I forget. Was it Chicago? That's what I thought it was.
Walmart's pulling out of Chicago. Whole Foods, that bastion of liberalism that they are, is pulling out of San Francisco after a year. They opened a store, went all woke with it. We're going to take care of the minority population. We're going to solve the problem. A year later, they're closing the store.
And so much for that theory.
Yep, because too much crime.
Yeah, you got to remember in those states, I believe the cutoff is $900 some odd dollars.
Yeah.
So you can walk into a store and load up a shopping cart with $899.
Per day.
Yeah, and $899 worth of stuff, and walk out of there, and they can't prosecute you.
They can't stop you even.
Right.
So there are literally people that go shopping every day.
Well, what we've done now is we've legalized the breaking of windows in riot and going in. Now they don't have to break a window and steal. They can just walk in there and do it at their leisure.
There's videos all over the internet of people walking out with big screen TVs and all this stuff.
But it still hasn't affected the people in charge because they don't go there.
They don't. Yeah, okay. The mayor of San Francisco is not shopping at Walmart. She don't care. She might be shopping at Whole Foods. I'll give her that. Well,
She doesn't shop. Someone's going there.
Someone's going there for her, but again, it kind of speaks to what we're talking about is, so now Walmart's pulling out. Walgreens has pulled out of a lot of big cities.
That I've heard.
LA and them. CVS is pulling out. So, okay.
Well, they had an additional issue because they have drugs.
Well, that's my point. That's where I was going with it. So Walmart, CVS, Walgreens are your 3 biggest drug dealers. I'll say it that way.
Pharmacies is a much better
I know
word.
it's pharmacies, but again, I'm trying to boost the ratings. Drug dealers sounds better. Where are people going to go get their prescriptions now? Well, they're going to get them from Amazon. That's the next.
Yeah, and that's happening already.
It already is. So again, we're consolidating. The people that were against big corporate, big pharma, are now wholeheartedly supporting them and narrowing it down. Right.
Well,
so instead of having Walmart, CVS, Walgreens competition, we're going to get rid of all of them, and you can go order on Amazon.
And the first group that went there?
Went to Amazon?
No, you went to shipping to them, and any great number was the military?
I did not know that.
Oh, what is it, what do they call that? Because I don't do it. They call it, there's a specific name for it.
I know
But-
I got moved to it. That's why it's on
No,
my mind.
we've always had that option to do everything to direct mail to us, you know, and, yeah, express.
Yeah, so I have Blue Cross Blue Shield through Obamacare. And let's do a show on that.
So you don't have anything.
So I have crap insurance, but I am now required to get all my prescriptions from Amazon. It's my only
Well, but
option
was it,
that it's covered by insurance.
Well, we just got cut off from the whole Kroger chain.
Yeah, so if I want,
Everybody.
well, years ago, I used to be a CVS person, and suddenly we had no choice but to go to Walgreens.
Yeah.
That was it.
well,
They
at
just
least
moved
you
it, they
catch
moved the
somebody's
contract.
trees, the receipt. But my point being is, you know, like for example, I take levothyroxine for my thyroid. I was paying $4 getting it at my local grocery store, Harris Teeter. $4 every 3 months for 90 pills. I paid 17 and change for 90. Now again, it doesn't break the bank. 4 times the cost. I have no option but to go through Amazon.
But that just reinforces what I said earlier. You're not in enough pain yet. Those people that are just went from 4 to 17, it's
But that is
inconvenient,
pain.
but it's not real
No,
pain to
it-
them.
They
it's-
haven't suffered enough.
Right,
It's- it's also
exactly.
planned to do it that way.
Let 'em suffer.
That's why she's executive producer, because she's brilliant.
Let 'em
But I could still.
She agrees
get it.
with me.
I could still get it at the store. They did give me that option, $368. So they're forcing me to use Amazon. Even with the GoodRx, I mean, I got to give the pharmacist credit because I was talking with him about it. And he's like, "Well, let me try it with the GoodRx, see what it comes up." And it was better, but not by much. So again, they're consolidating everything down. And what's going to happen in these bigger cities, these blue cities, is there's not going to be options for anything. It's all going to funnel through a few huge companies like Amazon or Walmart.
But can you imagine, we have problem with mail delivery now.
Oh,
Can you
ain't seen
imagine
nothing yet.
putting all the drugs being shipped through the mail?
Oh, you have.
You want to talk about break-ins and thefts and God, and people not getting what they need and people selling everything else on the street?
Well, the day of the brick and mortar is gone. I mean, Walmart's already, their long-term plan has become Amazon. There won't be Walmart stores down the road. Now, is it going to happen tomorrow? No. We're talking 50, 60
At least
years.
Sunday or Monday.
At least a couple generations out. But think about it from their perspective. Why am I paying God knows how much to have a 100,000 square feet store when I can have a warehouse and ship it? Oh, you know, the days of having those brick and mortars are going to be gone. And again, it consolidates. You can't have small businesses running on the internet well. I mean, yeah, there's Etsy, for example. The average Etsy person actually makes per year, it's about $20. You know? That isn't even chump change to Walmart, right? They make that in a tenth of a second in a store. It just, they're limiting our options, and this is all planned. I'm sorry. They know what they're doing.
Oh, sure they do.
And
You know, I had to use a term that's relatively old, but it's been around for a while. It's
we are
called,
old, so it's appropriate.
that was a hand grenade, by the way, people. Agenda 21.
Do tell the audience what that is.
Agenda 21 was a plan put out through the UN decades ago to basically control
60 years, give or take.
a decade. That's called
Yes.
decades, more than one.
Well, I mean,
But
some of our viewers may not know what a decade is, Bill. I hate to say it.
no, our viewers are smart. Yeah, we're not talking about a leftist site. We're
You
talking
gotta
about a,
remember, the opposition watches us to get information on us.
they won't
those are the
understand it.
ones-
That's fine. You don't
those are the
understand what
ones
we're
I was
talking about.
referring to.
Agenda 21 is when we go to the store and you look at things and you order it. Don't worry about it. For those on the left. For the rest of you, if you want to research Agenda 21, look it up. There was a full plan put out there to convert the entire nation, the entire world, to a certain plan where they want everybody living in, people move to the cities, clear out the countryside. It's all to the cities and small apartment types, and you travel to work and come back, get rid of everything, nothing but public transportation.
You will own nothing and you will like it.
Absolutely,
That's
and
the
you will
phrase.
enjoy every minute of it.
Yep.
Look it up, it's there, Agenda 21. And it's been out there, and basically, they've trained, over the years, most of these city planners have been trained in Agenda 21.
Yes, they have.
And that's exactly what you see going on now. But it's not talked about anymore, and they're very successful in what they're doing.
They're masters.
Yep. And we're seeing it. So that's a whole show one time.
We should do a whole show on that.
Agenda 21.
And
We
then
should.
could tie in 1984 with it because
Yeah.
that was at one time a work of fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're now literally living in it.
Now you think where they sit down and they look at yesterday's news and they change the words and change everything.
Yeah.
Well, that would never happen in this
We
country.
I gotta reread the book. It's been 20.
Yeah,
some
me
odd
too.
years
It's
since
been
the
a while,
last time
but I
read
still
it.
remember parts of it.
I gotta reread it because I'm like the parts I remember are like, yeah, it's like a checklist. Well, you're doing that. Yep, we're doing it. You
And if you don't say the right thing, there's the thought police that come and
Yep.
get you, and they reprogram you to the right words.
social media score.
Right. Yep.
Of
The
course, it
whole
wasn't
9
that
yards.
called that, but
That
it's-
man was. You didn't know what he was writing, but he did a
wrote
real
the
good.
blueprint.
I don't remember the author either. That's a shame.
George Orwell.
Yes, or that's it.
You know, back when I was younger, we had to read it in school, and it was put out as, you know, we can never let this happen.
And
This
you
is-
guess what? We're
Guess
living it.
what? Now we're living in it, and the schools are teaching that. Yeah, this is the way to go. You educators.
Educators. But yeah, Agenda 21 is probably a good show one time.
We should do that one. Put it on the list there, producer Cliffy.
Boy, that look was for you, not me. I'm
live for
glad
those
you got
looks.
the.
I do. I live for those looks.
But anyway, it's Agenda 21 is an issue we're all living and we just don't know it.
Some of us do know it.
The
We're
majority
the
of
ones
people
they're
do
trying
not
to
know.
silence.
Right.
I'm gonna move my head a chair a little bit.
But we have a real issue that most people don't understand what's going on. And that's one of the reasons they want to do away with, they want to own all the land, they want to push you to cities. And you go out to work and you come back to whatever they've given you to live
They don't
in,
even want you
and
to
you're
live in
happy.
your house now to go to work.
No.
You're gonna live in your house.
But if you notice what they've successfully taught is this Gen X group that's coming up now, they don't want houses.
No,
They want small little decibels that they can live in, which may be 800 to 1,000 square feet, meet their basic needs, and they don't have to devote any time to keeping it, whatever else.
Right.
There's no pride in ownership. You know, let someone else handle it, and I got to go to work. What I have to do to work, and then the rest of the time is mine to be leisurely time. You know,
sit as little blobs on the couch watching Netflix and playing video games.
and whatever other things they want to send you.
So not only is 1984 coming true, but eventually the Matrix will come true
So,
as blobs with electrodes hooked up to
well, you know what song keeps popping in my mind? In the year
Go.
2525. If man is still alive. I remember those lines.
We will not be by then, I don't think. But anyway. All right. Anything more on this topic?
I think we're good on this topic. Do we want to close off on, or you want to close and go to a different segment?
Well,
Why don't we look at a different segment for Reclaiming America, and we'll be back in just 30 seconds. Back to Reclaiming America, and as soon as I say it,
time.
he goes into a laugh. Is anything funny yet?
Hot bubbles are going to come up.
Yeah, I can just see what he's going to say about
By the
that.
way,
All
If
right.
you're listening to us, check us out on video on YouTube. And Henry does speak.
Yes, and he's probably the better looking of the
And
three
he
of
does
us.
share his thoughts from time to time.
Yes, he does, and generally they're all against me
They're
for some
usually
ungodly
about Bill,
reason.
So feel free to hear what Henry has to say. What are we talking about next, my friend?
Your turn. I've already done the last
Oh,
one.
there's so much.
Well, wait a minute.
I know what I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Well, we should at least talk about the national secrecy issue that we've had of leaking of more.
All right, we can talk about that. I want to talk about Florida too.
Oh, that's a good idea
That's a
too.
good one. But let's go to the secrecy one. Go ahead.
Yeah, that should. If you haven't heard, again, climb out into
Now
the
you-
rock you're
now
under.
You got Henry all worked
Yeah,
up.
he gets upset when you talk about violating anything going on. You know,
Yeah, really.
He's Secrecy Act. He's there. But anyway, we had a major leak of information, classified documents,
Major doesn't begin to cover it.
and that information included a lot of information on Ukraine and what people thought about it and what we thought about it, which
mean,
made
I
a lot
was-
of people real happy.
Do you remember a few months ago when I said that I know for a fact? No, I said I'm pretty sure we have special forces on the ground. in Ukraine, and no, that can't possibly be happening. How'd that work out for you?
I was just trying to keep the show going.
Another conspiracy theory proved right.
You see, the problem is we're
42.
running out of conspiracy theories because they're all becoming true.
Everything.
And that's a problem.
That's that scenario. Well, first of all, they arrested the airman. Was that what he was?
Yes, he's National Guardsman
I have a question for you, Mr. Military.
or Miss Military. We have two here.
So, obviously, lower rank. I don't know what airman's equivalent to. You probably do.
I don't know what his rank was. E5, 6.
So he's not up there.
However, you need to understand.
How the hell did he get access to this?
Wait a
stuff?
minute. He was IT. He
Probably
was
dissing
also
IT people.
he was also with highest level security because of the IT.
Yeah.
So he had access.
I know.
He was just what we call 25 and under stupid.
No, we have to appreciate what he did. He just got caught. That's his problem.
I don't appreciate anything when you release secrets because the minute
Oh,
you
yes,
start
it
that, there's a problem.
The others, well, yes, but I also think that could it have been handled better? Yes, it could have been. But some of the stuff that came out is exposing what's going on, and I don't have a problem with that.
But you can't control what's being put out. If you approve that, then you approve everything being put out, and there's an issue there.
It is.
Now, should there be some place that could declassify this information? Not an argument.
Right, that's
However, you can't pick and choose. This one's okay and this one's not okay. You either broke the law or you didn't. The man was
He
arrested.
broke the law. Oh,
The man was arrested, and I hope they throw the book at him because if they don't, this is the tip of the
well, they
iceberg.
need to make an example. But it's like they were doing with WikiLeaks, right? What they put out there was important information to get out. They just didn't handle it right, and now he's.
Yeah, but again, you've got a military person who thinks, by the way, his rationale for this was nothing should be a secret. And if it's a secret, you're trying to hide something, and it should be exposed.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, us IT people, and I'm an X1, we know everything. All right, people do not realize the power we have.
Oh, I'm sure.
I knew about affairs. I know when I worked at the school district which teacher was sleeping with which principal. I knew because what people don't realize is let's use the school district as an example. School districts have their own email. And people will go, I can't use that. The administrators might see it. I'll use my Yahoo account. What you don't know is all that traffic goes through my router, and I can read everything going through it. And did.
It's a good thing I spent most of my life as an angel.
And if you think what I can do is good, you'd be amazed what the FBI and NSA can do.
But what's also amazing is it took them 2 days to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's also scary, the scenario they put out is plausible that this happened this way, but unfortunately they have not built up faith and trust over the last 6 or 7 years in anything they say. So the conspiracy theories are going to be out there and with some justification.
Yeah. It's like, to your point, it is not good that this got out. There's some good to it, I think, but I mean, the fact that people know that our special forces were in Ukraine after they denied it all this time. I don't like outing the special forces, so to speak, but outing the lie, I'm all for. But it's how do you handle that?
You've outlawed information they can trace back to which special forces they were.
Well,
That's another
again,
whole
it's,
issue.
you
You remember the people that went after bin Laden. We're not going to let those people be known until SEAL Team 6 became the target of the world.
Yeah, except they all started writing books about it. And the guy who actually pulled the trigger is all over Twitter.
But that's his choice. It shouldn't be somebody else's.
In fact, I don't know if you know this, but he put a post up and some woke person attacked him. And I forget exactly what was said, but you couldn't possibly know anything about bin Laden, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're making it all up, and his only response was, go look up who I am. The guy had actually pulled the trigger. I mean, it's amazing. But, it's not good. But the other side of it is what the hell are we doing in Ukraine?
That's a different discussion.
You
That's
know.
another whole show, or at least a segment.
Yeah.
We do lots of segments,
Yeah,
people.
we'll
Hang in
leave
there.
that one at that. How about we switch to Florida?
There's a good idea.
can we
I
talk
can
about
use a
that?
little warm weather right now.
Might get you a little heated up on this. So, for those that don't know, I believe it was yesterday, the Florida legislature passed a new law banning abortion after 6 weeks. He probably has already signed it as
I believe he has.
Yeah. So this is going to become law.
However, I'm hearing that it's subject to there's already a court case against their 15-week ban
There's going to be cake. I hope it
forever.
stop. What are your thoughts on it?
First of all, you have to understand that I'm anti-abortion in general, except with certain exceptions.
The standard.
And there's no sense in going over them. We said it 100 times.
Everybody knows what they are. Yeah.
But the real issue that I have with this is I don't think that's enough time for a woman to know she's pregnant.
That's my contention too.
See, now we can't be on the opposite sides if you're agreeing with me.
Well, I yes and no. So I don't want to say I'm neutral on abortion because I'm not. I think it's ridiculous to murder a baby. I'll say that. That's it. That's my viewpoint. Who am I to tell someone who's 10 weeks pregnant? There's the libertarian in me coming out. The other side of it too is I've seen, is it sonograms? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
20-week-olds. That is not a zygote or clump of cells.
Well, this rule, by the way, was put in there based on a fetal heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you've got it. When is it? Now, one side says you can murder them after they're born. I mean, to that extreme. There's law proposals out there a week after birth.
Right.
The other side of it is at conception. I'm somewhere in the middle. I tend to fall in the 12 to 15 week range.
And I think North
And my
Carolina's
argument
looking at
is the
50.
one you just made, which is at 6 weeks they may not know.
And we'll go to a resident expert on that. Generally, how long does it take for a woman to realize she's pregnant?
5 weeks tops.
So
Okay.
in that area, yeah.
So 6 weeks may be too soon.
Again, there is no absolute right or wrong on this, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to catch flack for saying that. I see both sides of it. I don't agree with 20 weeks. I think my cutoff is around 12. You might push me to 15.
I think North Carolina's looking at 15 as the number they're going to work with.
Is it? I know they're 20 now.
I think they're trying to get back to 15.
I think 20 is too far. It's just my opinion. All right. 6 weeks. Personally, I can see the argument against it. I do not agree with abortion in any form. But I wouldn't be a right-leaning libertarian to sit there and go, "You got to do what I say," right?
Right, isn't that doublespeak? Right-leaning libertarian.
Not anymore. The norm.
Scary thought. You're right.
We are. When people talk to me about it, the zealots on both sides, I listen to them. I hear what they're saying. I don't disagree with a lot of it. I think it's absurd to kill a child in the birth canal. How anyone can justify that is beyond me. And like I said, my cutoff's probably 12 to 15 weeks. But if you came at me and gave me a legitimate reason, I would change.
Well, and I agree with you on 99% of what you said. I do not support abortion in general, but there are exceptions. And I can understand at some point there has to be a cutoff even for the exceptions. So at 15 weeks,
I agree.
By 15 weeks, that's 3 months.
You should know by then.
It's 3 months plus.
So you're saying even the exception shouldn't apply at that point.
You look, I hate to say this, if you've been raped and you've had incest and you don't know, you should know by then if you're pregnant or not. Let's be honest about it.
I can't disagree with you there. Now, life of the mother,
A different
that's
story.
a different one, right?
Because 7 months
but here's
is the
what's
biggest
interesting.
strain on a mother's body.
We're having this conversation and we're talking about the gray area.
Right.
The conversation's not had. What we're talking about is not what you hear. You hear the two extremes, black or white.
Where the circles converge, we're talking.
We're kind of in the middle, right?
Right.
We're in the Venn diagram area. and that's the problem I have with this whole debate is that this conversation we're having is not had. It's absolute one way or the other for the most part.
I agree.
And
You know, but we just raised an interesting question. The mother's health. Now, without going into some personal data from my own family, I know for a fact that the biggest strain on a woman for a whole system while pregnant is the 7th month.
I can vouch for that from personal experience because of when my
So,
ex was born.
you know, obviously, if you knew in advance, you know, that you shouldn't have gotten pregnant, that, you know, because for health reasons, you can deal with it. But if something pops up during the first few 6 months of it or 5 months of it, you can't be that blank and say, no, it's now the 7th month or 6th month, we can't do it. It's got to be, that's got to be
I
a
wouldn't
little
have
bit
a
more.
problem with that.
Neither would I.
No, and again, we're talking about is gray area stuff, right? It's specific situations. It's not the norm. You can have exceptions for that, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is the zealots on both sides don't want to hear that. You know, they want to say, I don't care if it's a huge medical issue for her. That baby trumps that. I don't agree with that. The other side of it is, you know, kill them all. I definitely don't
Mother's
agree
right
with
to
that.
decide no matter when.
You know, my issue primarily with abortion is the overwhelming number of abortions are done for birth control.
Exactly.
That's my problem. You're gonna get mad at me,
She's getting ready.
but basically, if a couple gets pregnant,
Well, at least half of the couple.
let's just say,
Even in the modern world.
a man and woman come together. How's that? And their net result is a baby. What happens to the guy if she decides to have the baby?
He's got a, you know, depending if this couple is married or
Doesn't
different.
matter. Is he
He's got
responsible for the
he's got a
baby?
lifetime support of at least
He's
18
responsible to do that.
till he's 18 or she's
And
18.
what's the argument that they make for that?
Then I should have the right to decide whether the baby
No,
exists or not. That's an
didn't-
argument I've heard.
It is an argument. No, what the argument is that he should have known that possibility existed when he opted to have relations with a woman. Therefore, he is responsible.
And that works for two, except for several points. One, there are birth control methods that sometimes malfunction.
Absolutely.
And two, there are people that will tell you that they're on certain activities and certain things to stop it, and they're lying.
But my point is, I agree with you. But my point is that they say the man should know that the pregnancy could have happened. That's their argument. They don't make that argument for women. And I think it's insulting to women. Their argument is, well, the man's responsible. It's his fault she's pregnant. He is responsible to cover that baby. Well, why aren't you making the same argument for the woman? Are they too stupid to know that they might have a pregnancy? I'm sorry.
Oh, I've got several lines here, but it's going to close this down. I'm going to have to be good. And she's already giving me no. Shut your mouth. No.
Women don't like when I bring that one up, by the way.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true as a regular group, but there might be individuals.
There's a lot of them that get really upset by that. And again, I'm not. Look, if you do not realize that if you have relations, keep it family friendly, that a baby may result, you're an idiot, first of all. But again, that
I'm
to
going to shut up.
me,
She's reading my eyes.
I know. But when you think about it that way, then why would you have abortion for birth control?
Your argument is valid to that point. But-
And that's the point I'm making with it, right? The rest of it, health risk to the mother, I'm all for.
Rape, incest.
Apps, but to a point, I could your argument, 15 weeks, I could agree with that. I could, why would you wait till 30 weeks? Now, maybe there's a reason why you would. I don't know. I would be interested to hear that argument.
Well, with every rule, there's always an exception, but we're talking about a general rule.
But a general rule of thumb. That's the problem. We want to put absolutes on this, and it is not an issue that has.
this is one of the issues that works with relative truths rather than absolute truths.
Yes.
Okay, and that's very rare because the extreme right runs strictly on absolutes, and basically a lot of that's from the fact the left will not take absolutes because that means that there's never, that nothing can be bent. For example, if you're on the right, you're a religious person in general at some level. There are exceptions to every rule. Remember I said that. But on the right, you believe in absolute truths, and there's certain things that you're taught and that you believe in that you just can't violate. You just can't change.
I agree with
You
you
know,
there.
but if you're on the left side, that can't be, because the minute you do that, you lose the relative truth issue, because they believe every action that they're taking is relative truth, so they can make it fit the situation because it's relative rather than absolute, and that's a problem.
I get your point. I somewhat disagree because I think they do believe in absolutes.
No, they don't.
Absolutes like you can always kill the baby. Absolutes like it's not murder. That's my point. I get what you're saying, but they have their absolutes too, to a point.
But all that ties to the relative, but if it's a woman's body,
Sure.
that's the truth there.
And again, I am an open book when it comes to talking about this because I do want to hear both sides. I don't like either extreme. I'm somewhere in the middle, and it's fluid, and it's been fluid.
Well, the only way this country is going to get fixed is if we take both extremes and ignore them. I hate to put it that way, and work with the group center left, center right, and get together and make it.
With this
Yes,
show.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
the question I have for you is: do you think on this issue that's even possible?
For sane people, yes.
I don't know.
Now,
Because
has it been so politicized? Absolutely. You're at the point
that's
where,
my point. It's so politicized at this point.
but we have to educate to bring people back.
But you look at what Florida's done. I don't agree with it at 6 weeks. I agree with putting limitations on it. Don't get me wrong. I agree with that.
Oh, I agree with you.
I don't know if I can buy into 6 weeks. But now it's law. It's going to be challenged. This will be decades before that's resolved. You got New York, California on the other end, which is legalize it in the birth canal. I think that's absurd.
Or a week later. Or a week later.
Or their proposal is a week. I've seen the proposals out to 8 years. I'm not joking. Some idiot out in California, it's never going to go, obviously. Put a bill in. 8 years.
That would have been dangerous for my children. By age 8, there were several times between 0 and 8, they were really dangerous.
This was like an extremist. All right.
He was doing it.
He was doing it to get attention.
Exactly, because he didn't believe
Absolutely.
it.
But no, not for a second. But you look at the abortion issue, it's a microcosm of all of the issues because, and I think it has driven us in some ways to where we're at now, where it's only black or white on every issue.
That's true. There is no gray anymore on anything.
No, and there's no give or take. There's no conversation even on a lot of it. Whether it started, I think, with abortion, but it's
Yeah, but you know what I see hope
everything
on?
now.
And I see hope, for example, I'll take the North Carolina legislature, which you are seeing one Democrat last week, but a number of other Democrats who have not gone so far as to change parties, but are saying these beliefs or this group of beliefs are too far from me. I will support the center and I'll go to vote with the Republicans, and they are.
You think it's that, or they're looking at the tea leaves going, "Oh shit, I don't."
No, because we have been holding the same numbers in the General Assembly, slip 1 or 2 or 3, either way.
Wow.
It's kind of, so they're pretty much, if they've been holding that seat, they're pretty much safe for the majority of the time. So that's not the issue. I think the party in the Democratic side is pushed so far to the left at this point.
Well, you're seeing that across the country.
And you're going to start seeing people on the Democratic side. One woman just switched over and said, no, it's over. I've got to go that way.
After her.
Right, and they're trying to hang her out to dry. But there are a number of Democrats who have, there are 4 more in the House, and I believe 1 or 2 more in the Senate, that are swinging over and saying, on this particular issue, I will vote with the Republicans. Maybe not this one, but I'm back and forth.
That's their job to do something.
Yes,
like
you
that.
think?
And the other way too, by the way, right? There are issues that I look at. You give me a reasonable argument, I would, and the left-leaning type one, I might agree with it.
But that gives me hope, because that means they're not all crazy, and we're not all crazy either. So if they can work together at some level, it can be applied in other places.
I think you're more positive than I am on that.
I have to be.
my viewpoint on politicians is they'll go whatever way is going to get them reelected.
Some will. There's no argument.
Take a
But there are
lot.
others out there that have scruples.
There's a few. There's the exceptions to prove the rule. You know.
We can debate that one time too. But
You gotta remember, I don't like politicians.
you have to remember,
You do.
I have to defend them when they're right
I know.
and scold them when they're wrong.
Yeah, but I'm not as hopeful as you. I do see glimmers of positivity. I will say that. North Carolina was one of them. Seeing some of the other stuff that's going on across the country, they're starting to get a little bit of backbone, is the term I'll use. Both sides, by the way. More and more Republicans are starting to take a stand, whereas before they wouldn't.
Well, I think they're starting to get the fact that even if they're going to lose on an issue, their base and the people there want to see them lose because that means they're trying.
And that's all.
And that's all anybody wants from them at
it's
this
all
point.
I personally have asked for 4
You know,
years.
and down the road, if they do get the control, then they need to produce. But at this point, they've at least got to put up the battle to say, I'm not here just for a check. I know what my people want, and I'll fight for it whether I win or lose or draw.
Florida, while I don't agree with what they did, they kept their word.
They did.
They did. I mean, DeSantis and the legislature said, this is what we're going to do, and they did it. So
And one of the
I
other
have
southern
to
states,
applaud that.
in a different direction, did a lot of transgender laws this week.
There's a few states that did
Yeah,
that.
they're coming out and saying this is not going to work here for us in certain, especially with the schools. And that brings me to one thing we can probably wrap this thing up on:
Oh, boy.
book banning, or book burning, depending who you want to talk to. You know,
Oh, boy.
I've been watching the left and the right argue about this point, and there's still a reality out there that certain books, nobody wants to ban a book, but they want to control access because of age appropriateness. And there's a big difference.
There's a huge difference there. So
I think I just said that, but that's
let's use 1984, since we brought that up earlier. Do I think it should be in schools? Absolutely, I do. I think it should be mandatory reading. Not for an 8-year-old.
But it's a purpose for a high school group, and
For high
maybe
school?
maybe in junior high or the middle school for the advanced classes at that point they should be
So,
there.
Using that as one example, you look at other books. Catcher in the Rye used to be huge back when I was in school. Now there are places that's banned.
Gone being banned.
Gone with the Wind is the movie.
Oh yeah, they've got
Gone.
all kinds of
Punch,
changes
punch.
going in there to make it
Yeah,
different.
but it's not black and white. You have to look at the individual book. If a book is catering to an 8-year-old and there is sexual things in it, I got a serious problem.
Regardless which way it's on, it doesn't
I
matter.
don't care.
They should 8-year-olds
It
should
is
not be
not
looking at
appropriate.
sexual activities or getting explained how to do A, B, and C. That's not appropriate. Let them be kids.
You know, when I was in school, we were talking about this the other day. I was trying to think about when they first talked about biology, I'll call it, in school. I think it was middle school.
7th grade was the first bio class in New York.
Okay, so there you go. So
Remember, I was a principal there for a
yeah,
while. I know the
that's
rules.
why I was looking at you. That's appropriate to me. So 7th grade is 12, 13? give or
Yeah,
take,
and you
in that
start
area?
and you get bio at the same time you start getting your health classes.
Right.
So
So I don't
it's
have a problem
conjoined
with that.
together.
If you want to talk about then and having a book with it, okay. Again, it depends the type because pornography is not not appropriate for an 8-year-old. I'm sorry, you'll never get me to agree with that.
I agree.
But the problem I have too is I can see the argument the other way, that you can go too far the other way too.
Well, that's always a danger with the pendulum.
It is, and that's where, again, speaking to the issues, it's not black or white, which people are trying to make it that way. There needs to be conversation. It really should come down to the district, school board, and the parents.
Well, I was hit with this last week, literally, on another
Got a
show.
book thrown at you?
No, just about. I was doing a show for TK, and he brings on this guy with me who pretends to be libertarian, but he is a Democrat in libertarian clothes. Okay,
No such thing.
yeah, you got it. And
can't
he
be
hit me out of
libertarian.
nowhere. And we usually just start with a conversation. Go.
Right.
He hit me right out of South Carolina, where they're banning 92 books, and immediately he wanted me to comment on that. And, my first response was, I don't know the content of those
I
92
was gonna say
books.
what's in the books. That was my
Yeah.
first thought.
And then I went into the age appropriateness depending on the content.
Right.
And there's some things that no matter what the content, it doesn't belong in the school.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to explain a blow by blow, literally sexual act in a book. Kids don't need to have
I
that
don't even
ever.
think in high school on that.
And I'm not even
Unless
talking about
it's-
picture. I'm talking about the
Right.
fiction side of the house.
The is it romance novels? I'm looking at you because guys don't read those things. That kind of level. Oh, they don't.
Well, it depends what level. You could have what's the high level romance books?
I have no idea.
Harlequin or something. They've got these whole series.
But
Regency.
Some of
Regency.
that, I mean, I've seen some of those books. They're pretty damn graphic. I mean, that there's not. You couldn't even justify to me having that in high school. If you want to have a biological textbook, biology textbook
With diagrams
with
rather than
diagrams,
pictures,
I can
whatever.
yes,
Not an issue.
That's not sexuality.
No,
per
that's
se.
teaching.
It's
That's teaching something.
Right.
I agree.
When you have a romance novel type, no, it's not. I would draw the line there. And again, the libertarian in me would say, well, who am I to judge? That's where you have to have that consensus. It should not be any 1, 2, or 3 people making it up. Most of the time, it's the school board, right?
They make the decision. Well,
They
no,
make the
actually, the problem is twofold. In schools, the librarian gets a budget, can order X amount of books. Depending on the state, there's also either a district or a state shipment of books. Here they are,
That they send.
and
to
they
everybody.
send into every school district and every librarian. So she's getting, or he or she is getting, books that she's chosen to order or he's chosen to order, and she's also getting books that she may not know what's in the content. And you're usually getting them a week or two before school opens.
And there's no way they could get.
You're not going to go through all those books, figure out what they are, get them labeled, and get them
But
into the
again,
stacks.
so at the state level, who's the one making that decision?
The State Board of Education, and not even them. It's actually the group that runs the schools.
So it's a committee off of it, basically. So how many people are on that committee?
Depends on the district and the state. I mean, I would guess the department has maybe half a dozen people. I would
So
guess.
again, to me, no. You need more than that. Now. Let's say you have a dozen. If you have a few parents, you have a few educators. Okay, I'll buy it. I'm willing to bet there ain't a parent on any of those committees.
Probably not. And I would almost take that point and say, almost like a group that does the grand jury. You need a system like that with X number of people in there, kind of representing the county or the state.
Like a jury.
Yeah, a grand jury, if you will.
Yeah.
And the majority would decide if a book goes out, given the debt, and they would then, and it doesn't have to be 100%. You could have a number of simple majority, 2/3, whatever you want to work with it.
And I'd be fine with that. The problem I have is there's a very small group determining all of this, one way or the other. I mean, I've seen people put out there, we're going to ban the Communist Manifesto. I read that in high school. It was educational to me.
Absolutely.
Das Kapital.
Mein
Kampf.
You ever read the book Non-Dare Call of Treason? No, not.
I don't think I've read that one.
That was an older one, but it's been out there, and it was really a conservative book that was banned all over the place because of the conservatism in it.
But I've learned from those. And what was interesting was, because I remember one of my teachers, I had Das Kapital, if you carry it around. You got to remember, this was Soviet Union's, the big bears coming to nuke us time. Why are you reading that? And I said, because I want to learn why they're thinking that way. And you read through it. It's why I am who I am now and so against it, because I read that book. And I went, holy crap, this is not good, It also, by the way, is the blueprint for what the woke people are doing
And if you go to
right now.
Sololinsky's book for radicals, I don't think that necessarily belongs
Mein
in
Kampf,
the lower levels.
I read that. You read that and you just go, oh my God, how did this guy get to power? Because it's a deranged lunatic. You could tell wrote that. Children should have at a certain age, not an 8-year-old, but maybe a high schooler. It's okay to read that, but have a discussion around it too. And if a parent says, no, I don't want to have my child read a particular book, I don't have a problem with that either.
Well, we allow parents at certain points in sex ed classes, for example, to exclude their child for certain discussions.
Right. In my belief, that is the ultimate decision maker. It should be the parent.
And I agree with you 99% of the time.
There
are always
again,
exceptions.
And the problem we have is we always try to cater to those exceptions, but I believe, I'll give you 99%, the parent should be the one making the decision. Because, again, there could be something religious about it that a parent objects to. I mean, I agree with them, but if that's their belief, who am I to tell them their belief's wrong?
Well, there are people that argue about the Bible. For example, the Bible's been, there was a school district that just ordered a teacher who, on the bottom of her email, had a religious quote from the Bible.
Yeah, get her-
You will get that off immediately.
But if
You
she had something from the Quran,
probably get away with it.
you get away with it, and that's a problem. I have a problem with that.
Yes, I do.
One or the other. You're gonna ban it, then you gotta ban it for
If it
everybody.
works for one, it works for all, or it doesn't work at all.
I've been talking with a city worker, and her emails got she, her, hers on them. And I'm sitting there going, this is a public worker. Why is she doing that? That's a political statement. Now, to me,
Oh, my pronouns are?
they should not be on that email. That's my viewpoint. But other people would have the opposite viewpoint. You know, it's, I'll give you a beautiful, you want to set some controversy off?
Why not?
You want to go there? I'm going to piss some people off now. So where we are in southeastern North Carolina, there is a city-owned museum that has a huge Black Lives Matter sign outside of it.
Yes, they do.
I have a serious problem with that.
And it's been there for a year or
It's
better.
a political statement.
Yes.
Why is the government paying for a political statement? So little old me's got in the back of his mind. I've been talking about this. Now we petitioned the city council for an all lives matter. Or if you prefer Asian lives matter, I don't care. Pick anyone you want. And the city pay for
How about old white men matter?
it. We're joking,
But you know,
but if you're going to allow Black Lives Matter, why wouldn't you allow old white men matter?
and besides, they are a targeted group by anybody at this point. They're the only group you can pick on and get away with it.
Again,
Look what happened to me.
I'm not opposed to a Black Lives Matter sign. I'm opposed to why are we only letting one group, a political group at that, why are they being given the right to do that?
Or I agree.
By the government, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's not right. I have a
You
serious
know,
problem with that.
that would probably make an interesting short podcast one day, where we go in front of the thing and just film it, and then bring it and put it out there.
Get in front of the city council and go, I would like an old, you
Well, wait
want
a
to go
minute.
for old white men's lives matter? I mean, the point being that you want to put that sign on private property at somebody, I have no problem with it. None. Go
Well,
ahead.
you want to go different in a different direction with that. We have month after month of various ethnic groups.
Yeah, where's the white men's month, history month?
Yeah, you want to go that way. I mean, it's there.
Well, it was interesting because when's Black Lives Matter?
February.
right?
February.
I saw someone who was from Indian descent. Indian.
Oh, I was going to say woo woo
No.
woo or
And we just got banned on YouTube. I'll tell you what I would call it off the air, but he went on a rant about it because they have Black Lives or Black History Month. They have
Hispanic. They have
Indian-
Ladies Month.
They have Native American History Month.
There's a Women's Month.
But he was targeting in on Native American History Month. Indian is okay. Where's mine? And it was brilliant the way he did it because he's like, well, why did they get one and I don't? We're both Indians. And I was like, oh dear God. He did not-
Wasn't it our president that had something to do with that thing when
I
he
don't
actually
know,
made
but,
a statement about that, which drove me nuts?
you know, he wasn't trying to be mean to Native Americans. He was trying to use the absurdity to make the point. Why does one Indian get it and the other doesn't? And I would sit there and I go, this man's brilliant because, again, the government has no place picking and choosing who gets their support.
Oh, I agree.
But yet,
So maybe we should consider doing a short shot in front of the
I
place
think we should take them out.
and just. No, I think we should go in front of the sign and do a short podcast discussion in front of it, and then start that as a 2 or 3 minute video out
And
there.
then bring the director of the museum out.
I don't think they'd come out with. We'd be in jail. And my contacts are on this side of the bridge, they're not on your side.
That's my friend.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to.
Oh, boy.
One final thing that just gives you what your problem with government is, and I go back to your county, not moi, but building that they're buying.
Oh,
and
you
how
want to talk
they're-
about that? Okay.
Yeah. For those who don't know, there's a large office space building in the middle of this town, this city, and it's unoccupied. And the
Name
city's,
city.
I wouldn't say Wilmington because that's not fair. But anyway, the building PDQ, PPQ,
Yeah,
something
something.
MICKEY. I do the
Whatever,
favorite.
doesn't matter.
Whatever PPD.
That's it.
They're thinking about buying it for several $1 million.
Yes.
And using it for, among other things, consolidating city services into one building, and in addition, renting out the other space to make some money, which all makes sense, okay?
I don't have a problem with it.
And
on
in
its
addition to
surface.
that, it comes with a large parking lot next to it, which is also parking being a premium and works out for the people that want to go visit.
Right.
The problem that comes up is the city council is saying the top floors are the ones we should be occupying.
The
And
prime
so
real
we
estate
can get 9, 10, and 11 or 12 floor views of the city and the river,
and the battleship
and
all that.
rent the space below to the other companies. Now, it would seem to me if you're trying to balance your budget, you rent the top floors for significantly higher than the lower floors,
Yep.
and you would then make enough money to maybe pay for the cost of the building and running it.
The prime real estate is the first floor because you can put retail there.
Right.
And then the top floors. Government offices should be in the middle somewhere. On its face, I don't have a problem with them if they consolidate everything to that.
Talking about 4 or 5 floors of consolidation.
Yeah, I got to see the numbers and all that. But again, they're looking at raising taxes to cover this thing. It's going to save money. It's going to cost the taxpayers money.
You know what actually drives me nuts with that? I keep thinking about the 1.25 billion. You must get ready. We're here for another hour.
$1 billion that nobody knows where it is.
The $1 billion that they can't spend, but they get 60 or 70 million a
Million,
year
but that's
off
county.
the interest.
That goes to the county, not the city.
Yeah, but the city can get their hands on it because the
Well, of
county
course
can
they
send it
do.
to them.
Yeah. But to that point also, the county just opened office.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Why are we not consolidating there? You want to buy this building? On the surface, I have no problem with it. County should be involved. The city should be involved. It should be the middle floors. The tax assessor doesn't need a view overlooking the river and the battleship. I'm sorry. Even the mayor.
And nor do
doesn't
the
need
people
that.
coming to visit them need to look out
They
the
do
window.
not.
They're going to want to pay their bills and get the hell out of Dodge.
First floor, maybe even the second, retail type stuff, right? Starbucks, whatever.
Right.
Top floors, that's your class A. I think it's A.
And maybe
real
a
estate.
small section of the first floor for information to get people upstairs
Yeah,
and
your
get them
lobby.
locked up.
Yeah,
Right.
Right. The top floor, that's the prime real estate.
Top 2 or 3
Yeah.
are your top because they got the view is phenomenal.
Right. So,
By the time you get to around 7 or 8, you get to see the parking garage.
and that's where our wonderful mayor should be looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
But it ain't gonna happen.
Well,
And it,
The credit of one person, though, Councilman Luke, and I forget his last name.
Waddell.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
he
the
came
one.
out. He's the only one that fought against it. He said, "No, this is stupid. We need to take the middle ground and give the top stuff to raise dollars."
and again, I haven't looked at all the dollars yet, but I do know they're looking at increasing taxes to cover for this. So where's the savings? Because they're talking, well, we're going to save money. Well, if you're saving money, why are you raising taxes?
Well, that's the same way the federal government
Florida
can
bond,
say.
maybe.
The federal government can say is, we're increasing the deficit only $2 billion this year instead of the normal 3. So we've actually cut the budget.
But instead of saying, well, we got to raise, I think it's 3 million is the number they threw out. We got to raise taxes to cover the 3 million, but we're going to save money. Where's the savings then? You're still charging the full price off to the taxpayers. You ain't saving anything.
Now, on the other side of the water, which is
Oh, brother, here we go.
which we bring to the good side of the water,
The
and
ones that want to put apartment housing right next to the battleship, that side.
that works for me, as long as it's on New Hanover side of the house.
No.
But
Yeah.
and I will give credit where credit is due to our county commissioners. Now, there's been a discussion for a while about putting in a baseball.
Yeah, I heard that got.
Well, no, it's not dead. What the county commissioners have said, there's two billionaires that want to throw 100 million each to build this thing, and they wanted the county to throw 70 million in bonds for their portion, and then the city was going to throw a 3 million in, but they know how to work their stuff out. to the credit of the county commissioners, they said, look, we like the idea of the building, but we're not spending that money. If you want it, if you're a billionaire, 135 million is no big deal versus 100 million. You can pay the bill. And I will tell you what they're not talking about. They realize that our infrastructure is growing and we're going to need a school bond shortly and to build new schools in this county because of the growth.
That needs to be the priority.
And what's your priority? Do you spend 70 million to put in a baseball stadium, or do you work on the infrastructure we need to make the county? So kudos to them.
I mean, I would love to have that stadium, but the taxpayers should not be funding it.
Well, and aside from that, I'm getting a message from the boss that's saying we're running it too far. So if we don't wrap it up, we're going to be wrapped
This
up.
is going to be like 5 shows by the time I get done.
Yeah, good. Anyway, one more time for him to laugh. Reclaiming America will be back, or America. Reclaiming
Is
America.
there vodka in there?
We'll be back for our next episode
Maybe.
shortly. So, depending if he hasn't gotten his band or not. But anyway, we want to thank you for listening to our many segments today, and stay tuned and subscribe.
and like.
Tell your friends,
Good,
like,
better.
give it out. And if you're giving someone a card for a holiday, put the subscription in there with it. Just tell them to get here and get us involved
We'll give
because
them
with
a
that.
free subscription.
Yeah,
know
and
what?
tell them you paid for
If
it.
you subscribe today, you get it for free.
Right. And we'll even give you one to give your neighbor for free. How's that?
And leave comments.
No more.
Although I have a feeling we're going to get a few. Dan Roman.
See you next time.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.